Get out of here. You're not my real father. You were just a favor my parents granted out of pity." The words sliced through the quiet of the Beverly Hills living room like shards of glass. 62-year-old Marcus Williams stood at the doorway with a small suitcase, watching Jessica shout like a child who'd never heard the word no. This was the man who had worked 3 jobs to send her to college, who slept on the couch so she could have the larger bedroom, who saved every spare dollar to give her the life he never had, and now he was being treated like an intruder in the very home he helped provide. 23 years earlier, Jessica's biological parents had died in a car accident, leaving their frightened 5-year-old daughter behind. Marcus, once the family's private driver, was the only person willing to step in. No wealthy relatives or close friends wanted the responsibility. "Your parents trusted me with your care when they were only 19, Marcus said evenly, surprising himself with the calm in his voice. "Jessica, I raised you as my own." "Exactly. You raised me. You did your duty as a babysitter. Now it's time to leave," she shot back, her perfectly styled blonde hair swinging with each sharp word. "I'm 28, a successful lawyer. I have this house and a fiancé with real influence. I don't need you in my life anymore." Bradley Montenegro, her 35-year-old fiancé and heir to a major construction company, lounged in a leather armchair, a faint smile playing on his lips. His polished nails tapped the armrest like a slow applause. "Finally, love." "It's about time," he murmured, not even glancing at Marcus. The change had been slow but clear. In the 2 years since Jessica began dating Bradley, Marcus was no longer introduced as my father, but merely as Marcus, the man who helped me when I was a child. Invitations to family dinners disappeared after Bradley suggested his presence might embarrass her. Friends' conversations would stop the moment Marcus entered a room. "Do you know what people at the country club say about me still living here?" Jessica's voice rose, her cheeks flushed. "They think it's strange." "Living with what, Jessica?" Marcus asked quietly. She couldn't finish the sentence. Everyone understood what she meant. Bradley wasn't shy. "With someone who doesn't fit our social circle," he added smoothly, adjusting a watch worth more than most cars. "Nothing personal, Marcus, but appearances matter." Marcus remembered the long nights helping Jessica study, the weekends working extra security shifts to pay for her books, the car he sold so she'd have what she needed. "Take your things and go," Jessica ordered, pointing to the door as if dismissing a servant, "and remove those old childhood photos. They don't match the decor." Marcus's eyes drifted to the shelf. Dozens of photos had once lined it. Now only 3 remained, hidden behind tennis trophies and riding ribbons. The others had quietly vanished after Bradley moved in. He glanced around the house he'd helped buy, the entryway he'd renovated after long shifts, the garden he'd planted so a little girl would have a beautiful place to play. He remembered the 5-year-old who once fell asleep only when he sang softly by her bed. The same girl who now saw him as an unwanted reminder of her past. "It's all right, Jessica," he said, tightening the strap of his briefcase. His eyes held a calm that hinted at secrets far greater than the scene unfolding. Bradley chuckled as if sharing a private joke. "Good. That makes everything easier." Marcus walked toward the door with a slight smile. They had no idea what they were about to lose. For years he had stayed quiet about the investments he made, the connections he built, and the real reason he had never worried about money, no matter how humble the jobs he chose to work. If you're shaking your head at such unbelievable ingratitude, make sure to subscribe, because this story proves that underestimating someone can be the biggest mistake of all. Marcus steered his old pickup through the glittering streets of Beverly Hills, the rows of perfect mansions shrinking in his rear-view mirror. 23 years of sacrifice had just been dismissed like nothing, all because a daughter he'd raised with love decided he no longer fit her image. His phone buzzed. "Jessica." "Marcus, I forgot to mention, please clear your things out of the garage." Bradley is turning it into a private gym. Her voice was cold, businesslike, as if she were scheduling a delivery. And another thing, don't stop by my office anymore. My partners have made comments. Marcus tightened his grip on the wheel. The garage, every brick laid by his own hands on weekend mornings, would soon be erased, as though he had never existed. I understand, he said quietly. Great. Oh, and Marcus. Jessica paused. It's better if you don't tell anyone you raised me. People might get the wrong idea about our background. The line went dead without a goodbye. Marcus pulled into a small cafe on the city's edge, the same one where he'd once cleaned floors at night to buy Jessica's school books. It looked exactly as it had years ago, simple, warm, and worlds apart from the sleek restaurants Jessica now favored with Bradley. Inside, he spotted Robert Chun, an old friend from those long nights of hard work. Robert now owned a thriving security company. Marcus! It's been forever, Robert said, breaking into a wide grin. How's Jessica? I heard she's a top attorney now. Marcus exhaled slowly. That's what I need to talk about. As Marcus described the day's events, Robert listened in silence, his expression darkening. After everything you did for her? Robert finally said. I remember when you skipped meals to buy her school supplies. 3 jobs and still up all night helping with homework. She doesn't remember, Marcus murmured. Or she chooses not to, Robert replied. This isn't just about appearances. It smells like money. That fiancé of hers probably filled her head with talk of inheritance. Marcus nodded. Bradley had been asking subtle questions for months about family finances, clearly assuming Marcus had nothing of value. Marcus allowed himself a small, wry smile. They think they know everything about me. Robert raised an eyebrow. Do they? Remember those investments I started when Jessica was in college? The tech stock I bought with the settlement from my brother's accident? Robert frowned, trying to recall. Yeah, you said it was a long shot. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed a banking app. Robert nearly spilled his coffee. $5.5 million? Marcus, is this real? The company grew 12-fold in 15 years. I never told Jessica. I wanted her to care about me, not what I have. I guess I have my answer now. Robert sat back stunned. So what's next? Marcus's lips curved into a quiet, knowing smile. Not of joy, but of someone who had just discovered he held every card in a game he thought he'd already lost. First, I'll give them exactly what they asked for. I'll walk out of Jessica's life without a word. He rose from the table. Then, I'll show this city who Marcus Williams really is. How? Robert asked. You still have contacts in the business world? A few. Why? Marcus scribbled a number on a napkin. Call this man tomorrow. Tell him you have a client ready to invest big. Don't mention my name. Robert glanced at the paper. Harrison and Associates, one of Los Angeles's most exclusive financial firms. Marcus, what are you planning? She wants me gone because she thinks I'm an embarrassment, Marcus said, adjusting his cap. I'll give her exactly that. I'll disappear from the Marcus she thinks she knows, only to return as someone she'd never dare underestimate. Each insult, each dismissal had only stoked a quiet fire inside him, and now that fire was ready to burn bright. A quiet resolve grew stronger with every slight they tried to throw his way. Each act of arrogance was, unknowingly, a step toward their own surprise. The next morning, Robert made the promised call to Harrison and Associates. The receptionist's tone was icy until he mentioned the client's estimated net worth. Between $5 and $6 million, Robert said casually. The change was instant. 1 moment, please. I'll connect you with Mr. Harrison. While that call was happening, Marcus sat in a modest downtown hotel room, far from the glitter of Beverly Hills. He laid out neatly organized folders, stock certificates, bank statements, investment receipts, records he'd kept locked away for years. His phone buzzed. Jessica. Marcus. I need you to sign some documents, she said, without so much as a greeting. It's about transferring ownership of the house. Since you lived there for more than 2 years, you might have a legal claim. We need a formal waiver. Marcus could almost hear Bradley's influence in her words. I see. And where do I sign? At Bradley's lawyer's office tomorrow at 2. Don't be late. We have an important dinner after. I'll be there, Marcus replied evenly. The call ended without a goodbye. 2 hours later, Marcus walked through the glass doors of Harrison and Associates. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Jonathan Harrison, a 50-year-old in a tailored suit, greeted him with a near bow. Mr. Williams, it's an honor. Your early investments in value tech were remarkable. How can we help you today? I'd like to diversify, Marcus said calmly. Of course. Commercial real estate, luxury developments in Beverly Hills. Actually, something different, Marcus replied. I want to fund projects with real social impact, community centers, youth mentoring, scholarships, places where someone like me, who started with nothing, can help the next generation. Harrison blinked, surprised, but the size of Marcus's portfolio spoke louder than any hesitation. That's admirable. I can introduce you to key figures in the region, high-profile attorneys, major investors, the kind of network that opens doors. Marcus allowed a small smile. That sounds perfect. Later that afternoon, Jessica was at her firm's executive floor restaurant sharing the good news with colleagues. I finally settled things with Marcus, she said over lunch. Now I can focus on what truly matters. Bradley and I are planning a $300,000 wedding at the country club. $300,000? A coworker echoed, eyebrows raised. Bradley's father is covering it. He says it's an investment in family image, Jessica replied, casually spinning the glittering engagement ring on her finger. By the way, anyone need a driver? Marcus is punctual and experienced. Laughter rippled around the table, and Jessica basked in their approval. Just 3 blocks away, Marcus was finalizing a very different kind of plan, signing a contract to fund a scholarship program worth $200,000 a year. The launch gala would be held the following week at the same country club hosting Jessica's wedding. This event will gather the top tier of Los Angeles society, Harrison said enthusiastically. Marcus scanned the guest list and paused. There they were, Jessica Whitmore and Bradley Montenegro. They're confirmed? Marcus asked lightly. Yes, Harrison said. Mr. Montenegro's family is one of our most important clients, and Miss Whitmore is well known in legal circles. Marcus closed the folder with quiet satisfaction. Excellent. It's going to be a very special evening. Marcus caught his own reflection in the mirrored glass of the office tower as he stepped outside. For 23 years, he had simply been Marcus, the quiet caretaker, the man who worked in the background, the steady presence in Jessica's life. In just 1 week, he would return as someone she could never have imagined. Every insult, every cold dismissal had only sharpened his resolve. They were about to learn that underestimating a person can be the most expensive mistake of all. The night of the gala, the Beverly Hills Country Club gleamed under golden lights and towering floral displays that cost more than many people earn in a year. Luxury cars eased up the drive, while photographers scrambled for the best shots of the city's elite. Jessica and Bradley arrived in a crimson Porsche, she in an $8,000 designer gown, he in a flawless Italian tuxedo. Finally, an event worthy of us, Jessica said, adjusting the pearl necklace Bradley had given her. No one to spoil the evening, Bradley replied with a confident smile. People like us should be among people like us. They entered the grand hall, greeting acquaintances and posing for photos, completely at home in this world of polished privilege. Rumors buzzed about a mysterious benefactor funding a major community project. Who's behind all this? Jessica asked a colleague. No one's sure, came the answer. They say the name is Marcus Williams, but he hasn't appeared yet. Supposedly, he's very private. The name tugged at Jessica's memory, but she brushed it aside, a reveal no one expected. At 8 o'clock sharp, Jonathan Harrison stepped onto the stage in a sleek tuxedo, smiling broadly. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, it's my honor to introduce the person who made tonight possible. a visionary who is pledging $2 million for scholarships and funding 3 new community centers across Los Angeles. Please welcome Marcus Williams. Applause filled the hall until Marcus stepped into the spotlight. Jessica froze. The room seemed to tilt. Marcus moved with quiet authority, his perfectly tailored tuxedo and calm confidence transforming the man they thought they knew. "Good evening," he said, his voice carrying easily through the hall. "Thank you for supporting a cause that means the world to me, ensuring talented young people have equal opportunities, no matter their background." Jessica's legs felt unsteady. Bradley glanced at her, puzzled. "You might wonder why education matters so much to me," Marcus continued, letting his eyes find hers across the crowd. "A few days ago, I learned a painful truth. Loving someone doesn't guarantee they'll return that respect. For 23 years, I raised a young woman as my own daughter. I worked 3 jobs, sold what I owned, sacrificed everything to give her the best education. And a week ago, I was told my presence was socially inconvenient." A low murmur rippled through the guests. Cameras clicked in rapid bursts. "But what hurt most," Marcus said, still focused on Jessica, "was realizing that I'd raised someone who measures worth by wealth instead of character." Harrison tried to redirect. "Mr. Williams, perhaps we can return to the charity—" Marcus offered a gentle smile. "Of course, Jonathan, the charity." He drew a folder from his jacket. "These $200,000 annual scholarships will ensure that bright students are judged by their talent and heart, not by their bank accounts. A lesson some never learn." The ballroom fell silent. All eyes turned toward Jessica, some curious, some suddenly understanding. Bradley, ever calculating, tightened his grip on her arm. "Marcus," he said with a forced grin, "what an incredible surprise. Jessica was just telling me how much she's missed you." Marcus raised a hand, stopping Bradley's attempt at small talk. "Please, Mr. Montenegro," he said evenly. "There's no need to pretend. Just last week, you told me I didn't belong in your social circle, and you were right. I don't belong in any circle that measures a person's worth by wealth or appearance." A ripple of surprise moved through the audience. Cameras clicked as people discreetly captured the moment. Jessica felt the weight of every gaze. "But here's the irony," Marcus continued, a quiet smile on his face. "All those years when Jessica was embarrassed to call me her father, I was quietly building something she never imagined. The $5.5 million I'm donating tonight came from investments I made while I was paying for her education, every penny saved with care." Jessica's heart dropped. Bradley's confident posture stiffened. The number alone was enough to make his mind race. "So, yes," Marcus concluded, "I'm leaving your social circle. I'm joining a better one, the circle of people who use success to lift others, not to push them down." Applause thundered through the ballroom. Guests rose to their feet, cheering as flashbulbs lit the hall. Jessica sat frozen, understanding that the man she had dismissed now held not just financial strength, but the admiration of an entire community. Months later, 3 months after the gala, Marcus looked out from the 23rd floor windows of his new downtown office. The plaque on the door read, "Williams Foundation, transforming lives through education." The phone rang. It was Robert Chun, now the foundation's executive director. "Marcus, we've got 50 new scholarship applicants this month, and the documentary about your story airs nationwide next week." Marcus smiled. What began as a $2 million donation had grown into a $15 million foundation, supported by investors inspired by his mission. Universities across the country now partnered with the Williams Foundation. "What else is new?" Marcus asked, though he already sensed the answer. Jessica lost her job at Henderson and Associates. The partners felt the publicity hurt their reputation. Bradley was also dismissed from his father's company. The Montenegro family didn't appreciate the headlines. Marcus shook his head. There was no satisfaction in their losses, only a quiet sorrow for the daughter he once knew. A different beginning. That same afternoon, Jessica sat in a modest cafe far removed from the luxury she once flaunted. Her savings were gone, the upscale apartment sold to pay debts, and Bradley had walked away the morning after the gala. Her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Jessica. It's Marcus." She caught her breath. "Marcus, You don't need to explain," he said gently. "I know this is a hard time. I'd like to offer you something, a job at the foundation. No special treatment. You'll start with paperwork, learn how the scholarship program works, and if you truly change, perhaps we can rebuild what was lost." Tears filled her eyes. "I'll take it," she whispered. "Don't promise," Marcus replied. "Show me." 6 months after, half a year later, Jessica sat with a 17-year-old applicant, helping him complete his scholarship forms. The boy, from a struggling family, reminded her of the patience Marcus had shown when she was young. "Thank you, Miss Jessica," he said with a hopeful smile. "This chance means everything." In that moment, Jessica finally understood. Marcus hadn't sought revenge. He had offered her the opportunity to rebuild her life on true values. From the doorway, Marcus watched quietly. Jessica now lived simply, earned a modest salary, and, at last, seemed genuinely happy helping others. "She's changing," Robert said quietly as he joined Marcus. "She's finally learning what you tried to show her all along, that a person's worth isn't in a bank account, but in how much they help others rise." That evening, Jessica called. "Dad," she said, using the word for the first time in years. "Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it." Marcus felt a warmth in his chest. "Sometimes," he replied, "we have to lose everything to understand what really matters." A new chapter. Marcus Williams's journey soon became a national inspiration. Universities invited him to speak. Business leaders sought partnerships with the Williams Foundation. Letters poured in from young people whose lives had changed because of the scholarships and mentoring programs he created. Bradley Montenegro, by contrast, faded from the spotlight. His career stalled, his family distanced themselves, and he became a cautionary tale of how arrogance and prejudice can undo a life. 2 years later, Marcus stood on stage at Harvard University before an audience of 500 students, speaking about perseverance and justice. "I've learned that the best revenge isn't to hurt those who hurt you," he said, his voice carrying through the auditorium. "It's to build something so positive and powerful that it transforms not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you." In the front row, Jessica listened proudly. Now a graduate in social work and a key member of the foundation, she had found her true calling, helping young people overcome the same barriers that had once blinded her. Marcus concluded, "When someone tries to diminish you because of prejudice or status, don't let it define you. Let that pain become the fuel to prove that a person's worth is never measured by wealth, appearance, or where they live." Those who judge by the wrong values often discover, too late, what they missed. The applause was thunderous, but Marcus knew the real victory wasn't in the ovation. It was in Jessica's transformation. It was in the thousands of students now reaching for opportunities once out of reach. It was in proving that rejection can become redemption, and pain can ignite a purpose that lights the way for others.